What's going on, everybody? You hear the music, you know what time it is. It is time for the Jump Off. And I am your host, KODX Factor, and I am here as part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network, and all the guests that appear on this show and future shows are part of the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well. It's a big week, and next week is going to be an even bigger week. And why is that? Because one of the greatest expos in video games is upon us. And yes, that is right. E3 2018 is right around the corner. This coming Sunday, everything kicks off. And honestly, between everything that we've been hearing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, you would have thought already that E3 had already begun. But companies are already starting to put game leaks out there, game press out there. Game announcements are coming galore right now. So this is all going into pre-E3. So that's what this show is going to be really centered around, is pre-E3. And some of the stuff that's already been announced, some of the stuff we can expect to be announced, and some of the rumors that have been kind of swirling around, some of the stuff that's going to be announced during the press conferences that begin on June the 9th, which is Sunday. So just real quick, let me kind of go over the schedule. June 9th, which is the official start of E3, the press conferences will begin. So if you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, all the times I'm going to give you are West Coast times, Pacific times. So just count 3 hours ahead for the time difference if you're on the East Coast. So we're going to kick everything off on June 9th at 11 a.m. Pacific time with EA. So they are going to be hitting off early. As a matter of fact, June 9th is Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me pull up that schedule here real quick, because it might actually be starting a day early. Yes, it is. So June 9th is Saturday. So E3 is actually taking place a day earlier. It normally starts on Sunday. It used to start on Monday. Then they kind of went back a day, and it was Sunday, and then now they're going back an extra day for it to start on Saturday. So everybody's starting to fly in. Everybody's getting their bags packed and taking off probably in the morning to be at E3 and be at the show. So you're going to hear a lot of people landing in LA, getting ready for the big show starting this weekend. So June 9th, Saturday, June 9th, EA will be kicking things off at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then Microsoft is going to go on Sunday, June 10th, which they have done the last few years. They've kind of kicked their showcase off on Sunday. Not too bad. Actually, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, I think they probably went on Monday. If I'm not mistaken, last year Bethesda went Sunday, and then Microsoft followed up on Monday. So I believe that's kind of where it happened for E3 last year. But Microsoft is going to go on Sunday. So that's June the 10th, Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then they're going to be followed up on Sunday as well. June the 10th is going to be Bethesda. And they're going to be kicking theirs off at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then on Monday, June the 11th, is going to be Ubisoft at 1 p.m. Square Enix is going to be going at 10 a.m. So Square Enix first, then Ubisoft, and then Sony is going to go at 6 p.m. They always tend to close out with the evening time. And then Nintendo is going to go on June the 12th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and that's going to be on Tuesday. And they always tend to go last, but there is a lot of rumors circulating what Nintendo is going to have up its sleeve for E3, and a lot of things that have been kind of leaked or being pressed upon for games that they got coming out for their system. So I think they're going to have a lot up their sleeve. So I'm actually kind of really looking forward to what Nintendo's got going on. But just looking at the lineup and looking at the schedule, EA is going to be kicking things off on Saturday. Now, I do want to say this, and I've kind of touched on this for the last couple of weeks now, especially with all the game announcements that have been going on since Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which, by the way, I do not like. And really quickly, because everybody kind of asked me what my opinions were on Black Ops 4. Really quickly, here's my thoughts and opinions on Black Ops 4. Yeah, it always gets announced every year. It's always got a new iteration every year. But why call it Black Ops 4? It doesn't really kind of seem to fit within the mold of their past iterations in the Black Ops series. There's no single player. So Activision is going to be charging you $60 for a online multiplayer game only. So there is no single player, even though they want to say, oh, but there's missions that you can do that'll kind of share character similarities from the past games. Look, I don't really care about the little single missions that you can do. And I got like my air quotes going right now. Activision's screwing its fans yet again because they are pulling single player away from Black Ops, or pulling single player away entirely from Call of Duty. And this was actually kind of rumored about a year or two ago with their past iterations, and we were like, that would be detrimental to the series. Why do that? There'd be no point to it, so you're going to do just an I think if they do it, then they have to at least charge $39.99 for the game, since it is going to be multiplayer only. And sure enough, they are not. They are sticking to their $60 price point for an online multiplayer game only. So Activision can go screw themselves. Yes, I said it. I can care less. The game is going to be a complete failure, and I hope that they learn from their mistakes. Yeah, there's going to have is somewhat hardcore fans that are going to be following it from iteration to iteration to iteration. I could care less. I cared less about the series for the past 4 years. And this just further proves my point that this is a sham to what they're doing to their fan base. Like, look, if you're going to charge for a full price game, you give us a full game, not some half-ass multiplayer only crap that's going to be boxed into a retail box and sold to fans at $60 a pop. You're out of your freaking mind. And on top of that, you're going to deliver a battle royale, because why? Because it's the in thing to do now. Again, my air quotes going. It's the in thing to do. It's got to include a battle royale, and I don't even think the battle royale system for that game is even going to be that good. So, there's a lot to be shown off about it. I'm sure they're going to show some stuff at E3 about it. But if they don't fix that price point for the game is going to be an abysmal failure, and they're going to fail massively to Battlefield 5, which to me I think is going to be a great title. I kind of touched on that one last week. But moving on, let's take a look at what EA might have in the pipelines. We know that EA is going to show off a couple of different things. They're going to show off a little bit about their Han Solo downloadable content going to be coming to Star Wars Battlefront 2. They kind of announced that already, so we knew that was going to be kind of one of its things. It's going to have a huge presence with Battlefield 5 because of the announcement that came a couple weeks ago. So they're going to have a huge presence for that game. I would not be surprised to see a new Need for Speed game announced. Obviously, they're going to show off Madden. They're going to show off FIFA. They're going to show off their sports titles. But I think one of the bigger surprises, because it's been rumored about for the last 6 months to a year, I think one of the big surprises that could come from them along with their sports titles, aside from UFC, aside from Madden, aside from FIFA, I think they're going to bring back the NCAA football franchise, and I think they're going to do it at E3. That would be one of my expectations from the show. I would think that maybe they're going to go out and say, okay, we're going to give you we're going to bring back the NCAA license, because there's been rumors about it for quite some time now. So I'm wondering if they finally got that license signed back and that they're going to start producing the NCAA football franchise again. Maybe not for release this year, but for maybe next year. That could be a possibility. So that could be actually pretty huge if they bring back the NCAA football franchise, because it did well. It was actually a really massive seller. It's just they lost the license and couldn't get it renewed with the NCAA. And I'm thinking and I'm hoping they got that license resolved after a number of years of being out of their lineup. So I'm kind of hoping they bring it back and they start giving us the NCAA franchise again for football. Man, maybe even basketball if they feel like they want to go back to that. But I think they kind of need to leave NBA Live alone. But I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, I think they're going to bring BioWare to the stage and they're going to kind of show off gameplay of Anthem, I think is what the name of it is, from BioWare. I could see that coming. They're obviously going to talk about that quite a bit. So I can see that being a really, really strong possibility. I'd like to see a little bit more of Anthem because what I saw last year at E3, I wasn't too thrilled about it. But, there's still a lot left to absorb about that game. No, it's not going to come this year. I think they even already said it's not going to be until next fall. I think when that game comes out, which I'm okay with, but give me something substantial to kind of look at so I can kind of make a judgment call of what I think that game is really, really going to be like. Because I didn't really feel like I got that last year, and I think if they kind of showcase a lot of gameplay for that, I think that could go over extremely well for what they're going to be bringing out. And obviously, I think they're going to have a couple of, just kind of one-off games, a couple of indie games. I'm hoping they have a couple of other indie games, kind of like they did with The Way Out last year, where it's going to be, downloadable only. It's the indie market. They're going to kind of touch on the indie market a little bit. I kind of hope they keep going in that direction a little bit, giving some of the smaller studios more to do with games like they did with The Way Out last year, because that game was awesome. So I was actually very, very pleased with it. So I kind of hope they keep going in that direction. I'd love to see another Mass Effect announcement, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think they're taking an extra long time with this franchise to kind of bring back the core audience with the franchise. I myself liked Andromeda, so I don't know why a lot of other people just strongly disliked it. I really, really liked it. Yeah, I know there had some technical hiccups, but I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of hoping to see at least something in the way of the pipeline for Mass Effect at some point. But again, moving on, and then we look at Microsoft. Microsoft is going to be going on Sunday. Microsoft could have a huge show. And what I mean by that is Microsoft could actually come out of the box and come out swinging with a lot of different game announcements and some big ones. Now, we already know of a couple that have already kind of been leaked. Look, we know Crackdown 3 is going to be one of its big games at the show. They're going to show a lot of it because, daggone it, this game needs to come out now. This game has been delayed and delayed and delayed to the point that it's going to get its audience that doesn't care anymore. And I think Crackdown has got to have a firm release date and say, look, it's coming at this date, and I would like to see this game come out sooner than later. So if they come out and say, look, this game is actually going to be coming out in September, I think that could be huge for it. If they say this game's coming out in like November, December, that could be pretty detrimental to it. So you want to get this game out early, get it out around the September timeframe, maybe late September, no later than early October. Because a lot of games now are starting to come out around the September-October timeframe. And we'll get into a couple of those games here a little bit later on. Like NBA 2K that's coming out in September. It used to come out in October, now it's coming out in September. Along with a couple of other titles like Tomb Raider, which I think they're probably going to show Tomb Raider on the Sony stage. I don't think they're going to show that on the Microsoft stage, but I could be wrong. I think Microsoft is going to have some huge announcements in the way of its Game Pass. And what I mean by that, last year they talked a lot about their Game Pass, which is their monthly subscription that you could pay for and have access to a ton of games that you can access digitally and play whenever you want. $9.99 a month, not a bad price for what they have in there. And the fact that all their first-party games are going to be accessible in the Game Pass on launch. So games like Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, when these games launched, they were on the Game Pass store and available for you to play on day one. You didn't have to wait for it a certain period of time. You didn't have to spend the $60 for it, especially if it's a game that you wanted to try before you bought. Sea of Thieves was like that for me. I didn't want to buy it right out the gate, but I wanted to try it, so I tried it on my Game Pass. Didn't like it, so I didn't purchase. State of Decay 2, I did purchase. So the fact that you have this access, and I think they're going to go in the way of announcing a lot of games that are going to be accessible for the Game Pass, such as obviously Crackdown 3 is going to be a part of that. I think they're gonna announce that a lot of third-party titles are going to be accessible on the Game Pass day one. From rumors that I'm hearing, games like Tomb Raider, Borderlands. I think Borderlands could be on the Xbox stage and may be able to get close to closing the show out. I think that would be huge. But rumor is games like that, games like Borderlands, Tomb Raider, Splinter Cell, stuff like that, I think those are going to be games that they're going to announce. They're going to be accessible on the Game Pass day one. Yeah, that's going to cost Microsoft a ton of money to do. But think about the number of subscribers that you will get to Game Pass if they announce that a lot of third-party titles from Capcom, EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, if a lot of these companies put their games on day one Game Pass with Microsoft, that could be huge. Think about it. You can spend $9.99 a month and play any of those games as much as you want. That's huge. So essentially, in 6 months, it'll be what it costs for one of those games, and you can play all of those games as much as you want. Just look at the difference in the pricing. You can spend $60 a title or $89.99 if you go the deluxe route. Or you can spend $10 a month and play all of those games as much as you want. That could be a huge announcement if Microsoft pulls that off. And I think that could be a possibility. I think they could really up their Game Pass, which could make for a very, very interesting conversation when it comes to the war between Sony and Microsoft. I think they're going to show off, at least have some sort of rumblings about a new Halo. I mean, Halo 6 we know has been in development for a number of years. I think they're probably ready to maybe show off something cinematic for that. And the rumor is that they're going to announce Gears of War 5 as well, which could be huge as well, because that's another big first-party title for them that is going to be much expected. We all know it's going to be coming, but I think there could be a possibility of more than just Gears of War 5. I would be shocked. It could be a big surprise if they say, look, Gears of War 5, yes, is coming. But we're also going to have a Gears of War RTS game. I'd play that. An RTS Gears of War, that could be actually pretty interesting. And if they announce that they're going to be putting out like a Battle Royale game for Gears of War, I don't know how I'd feel about that, because then it's just becoming oversaturation in that particular genre. It just seems like everything's going to be including some sort of a Battle Royale system, because that's the most popular thing right now. So Gears of War 5 could be huge. I would expect to see if Ubisoft does have Splinter Cell in the pipeline, which is a strong possibility right now because of all the rumors and stuff that have been kind of circulating around that. Could be extremely huge, because we haven't seen Sam Fisher in a long, long time. And the last time we saw him was on a Microsoft stage. So if he comes back and they have a big announcement with the new Splinter Cell coming, Xbox One X enhancement available day one on Game Pass, that could be huge. I think they're going to increase their library of backwards compatibility games. And they may show off, I think they're going to finally make the price cut that they announced a permanent thing, so everything's going to be dropping $50. The Xbox One X is going to be $450 now instead of $500. I think that's going to be one of the most obvious things. I think they're going to announce probably a new Elite controller, so the Elite controller Volume 2, or Version 2. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have different SKUs for the Xbox One X when it comes to bundles, or maybe even different colors. I could see that being a possibility. But I think Microsoft could actually take a really, really big swing, especially when it comes to the Game Pass announcement, if that's true. Then next up, you have Bethesda. They went kind of off the rockers here when they started announcing their games, and they started early, and they let the cat out of the bag already with Rage 2. They could have saved that one for the show, which I'm surprised they didn't. I mean, yeah, it would have been a nice announcement, a nice surprise. But like I said on the previous show, how many of you were really, really expecting Rage 2? How many of you even really cared? I mean, I didn't really care too much about Rage. And the thought of an announcement for Rage 2 didn't really throw me off my rails. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like one of those games that, like, you hear the announcement, you've seen it, and you're kind of like, eh. So I think they kind of already let a lot of their stuff out of the bag with Rage already. They already showed the trailer for Fallout 76. I think there's going to be a lot to explain about that game. The trailer kind of looked like it was being run on the older engine, which could be a little bit disappointing. So I hope they show a lot of gameplay and kind of like what Fallout 76 is really going to be. What type of game is it going to be? There's a lot of rumors circulating around what kind of game it's going to be. Is it going to be a traditional Fallout game, or is it going to be something different? So, I mean, and I think they're probably going to show a lot of Wolfenstein on the Switch. They may have some sort of a Doom announcement. I think they may have kind of like maybe a sneak peek or a sneak trailer of Doom 2. That could be pretty cool. But then you got Square Enix coming up. Or, I'm sorry, not Square Enix. Yeah, Square Enix is going first. So Square Enix is going to have probably its Tomb Raider. That's its biggest game. They're going to show a lot about Tomb Raider. I think we're probably going to see that on the Sony stage, because Sony's behind a lot of the marketing for that title. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that on the Sony stage. Square Enix, I think, is probably going to show a release date for Kingdom Hearts 3. Again, we're probably going to see that on the Sony stage. And they're probably going to show a couple things in regards to the Final Fantasy VII remake, or they may hold that for the Sony press conference as well. There's a lot that could probably be going on Sony's stage, and I think if Sony was going to play it smart, they would have a lot of these games on its stage. I mean, think about it. Show Tomb Raider, okay. Show Kingdom Hearts 3 and have a release date. That would be awesome. And then you show Final Fantasy VII Remake. I highly doubt we're going to get a date for it, but that would be fantastic if we did. So, I mean, that could be Square Enix. And then you're going to have Ubisoft come in right up afterwards. And Ubisoft could have a big show. We know we're going to see Just Dance 2019. That's like every year. They're going to probably show the DLC coming for Mario Raving Rabbids, which was a huge success for them last year. They're probably going to announce the new Splinter Cell, which has been long rumored to finally be coming out, the return of Sam Fisher himself. That could be huge. And then their big announcement last year was that gameplay trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. I think they may actually show gameplay footage from that, which to me would, because I mean that announcement like almost stole the show for me last year. I think if we get some clean, good-looking gameplay, some sort of maybe a release window. I don't think it's going to be this year. Maybe next fall. I think we probably see that game. I think that would be an exceptional route to go. We need to see that game in action. After that trailer announcement last year, I think we need to see this game in action. And that could be huge for Ubisoft. And then we're going to come to Sony. Now, Sony could have a huge show, especially when it comes to titles. Now, of course, a lot of them are not going to be first-party titles. I think we're going to see first-party titles like Last of Us Part 2. They're obviously going to show that. Days Gone, they're probably going to show, even though that's going to be a next year release. They're going to probably show Final Fantasy VII, the remake. That could be exclusive. At this point, I don't really know. I think Death Stranding is going to be a huge presence on that stage. They've been talking about that game for like the last 2 weeks strong. Hideo Kojima's been hard at work on it, and I think he's going to have a big trailer, some big announcements for that game, possibly a release window. I mean, you got to think that game was first announced back in 2016 on the Sony show. I think that could be huge if they have some sort of a release window for that game, and I'd be ecstatic for it. They're probably going to show, Days Gone, Last of Us 2. Obviously, I think they're probably going to show Assassin's Creed Odyssey on that stage as well, because that's kind of marketing from Sony that's kind of taken over, just like they did with Tomb Raider. They're probably going to show a lot of Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which, because they kind of they have the exclusivity for some content or the downloadable content first, kind of like the deal that Microsoft had with them before. I think they're going to probably show, they may have Kingdom Hearts 3 on their stage, which would be smart. And then there's the rumor that Capcom had registered the domain for Devil May Cry 5. We know that's going to be a multi-platform game, but I think they'll probably show it on the Sony stage. If they show it on Microsoft stage, I won't be shocked. But if I had to pick between the two, the two manufacturers that I think that they'll display it on, I think it's probably going to be the Sony stage, although it very well could be the Microsoft stage. But I think we're probably going to see something in the way of Devil May Cry 5 from Capcom. They're probably going to, because Capcom's going to probably have like one of these things where they're going to announce a number of games in one fell swoop. Devil May Cry 5 will probably be the one to close it. There's the rumor of the Resident Evil 2 remake. I think that could be huge, especially if it stays as a Sony exclusive. But Resident Evil is multi-platform, so I don't know if they're going to put the Resident Evil 2 remake on the Xbox as well, or if it's just going to be on PlayStation. But there's the RE2 remake, and I think they're probably going to have something in the way of probably more content for Street Fighter V, which is a Sony exclusive as well. So I would not be surprised to see any of these announcements from Capcom on the Sony stage. And they're probably going to talk about, and this is Sony that I'm talking about, and they're probably going to talk a little bit about their success that they've had early on this year, especially with God of War and Detroit Become Human. They're probably going to talk about the success of PlayStation over the past year. It's had a pretty big year, so it's got a lot to celebrate, and I think they're going to do so, especially on the Sony stage. I doubt they're going to talk anything handheld related. They're probably not going to address anything with the PlayStation 5 rumor that's been kind of circulating. I don't think they're going to address any of those. I think this year they're probably going to just stick pretty much strictly to games. So I think that's what they're probably going to do. They're going to stick strictly to games and titles that's going to be coming to the platform. Probably a lot more exclusive titles than they displayed in past. So I think we're probably going to see a lot more exclusives coming their way. So I think Sony, like I said, Sony I think could have a big show. And then there's Nintendo. Nintendo's kind of like the strange one for me, because they have a lot already in the pipeline that we know of. Smash Brothers is going to be huge. I think they're probably going to have a release date for that. So Smash Brothers is going to be like their main focal point. The new Pokemon that they just announced. The Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee version. And then the Pokemon Quest that comes out next year. So they're going to talk a lot about those. They'll probably talk about a lot of their titles that they got coming out this summer. But then I think they're going to hit us probably with something a little bit, not necessarily in the frame of mind of Nintendo, but different. To kind of coincide with the release of their online platform. The one that you got to pay for now to play online. And I think to coincide with that, they're going to be releasing Fortnite. Because that's been rumored for a little while now on Switch. And I think it's coming. And I think it's coming a lot sooner than we think. I would not be surprised if Nintendo came out and said, since their press conference is on June the 12th, they're going to come out and say Fortnite is available for the Nintendo Switch owners today. And you'll be able to go to the store and download Fortnite on announcement or upon announcement. And Fortnite, and I talked about it before on previous shows, that one of these Battle Royale games is going to come to the Switch at some point. It seems almost inevitable. Why? Because they already have mobile versions of the game as it is anyhow. So it only makes sense that they would put out some sort of version for the Switch. And Fortnite is a perfect fit. I think that could be huge for the Switch. I mean, think about it. Fortnite on the go anywhere you want. The only downfall is, you're going to have to pay for their online subscription, which, Granted, it's not that much. It's a lot less than the other ones, than the other players have. But the fact that you're going to have that in order to even play the game, well, I mean, you're going to need a subscription anyway to play it on PlayStation or Xbox. But the fact that you're going to have, if you have Fortnite already on those platforms and then you want to get it on your Switch as well, that's another system that you're going to have to pay for the online access for. I wouldn't be surprised to see if we see more in the way of like kind of more gameplay for the Metroid that they showed off last year. They announced. I think we need to see some gameplay of that. So I mean, that could be, to me, and then I'm sure they're going to have a bunch of other titles because there's rumors that they got about 10 SKUs or 10 games that they're going to discuss that have not already been announced that we know about. You got to remember, Smash Brothers, Pokemon, all those games we know about already. Metroid, we know about those. But there's about 8 to 10 SKUs for games that we do not know about yet. And Nintendo is one of those companies, except for the announcement of Pokemon, that has kind of kept a lid on their announcements. They're waiting for the show, which why wouldn't the other companies do that? A lot of these other companies are already letting the cat out of the bag for what they have for the show. Hold on to them. Let the show be exciting. Right now, out of all the announcements that I've seen that were E3 games that should have been, the show's not as exciting as I thought it was going to once be. Because now I already know about all the stuff that they were going to plan on showing. But, you know, I don't know why they did that. A lot of it's from the leaks that happened before that they were kind of forced to go ahead and announce it at that point. But I still, even then, would have held off until the show. Just kind of create that buzz, that little bit of excitement. But I think Nintendo is going to be one of those companies that's probably going to have a really, really big show. I think Microsoft can have a big show if they go in the way of third-party titles being on their Game Pass. I think Sony's probably going to have a really, really big show in the way of games, and more so exclusive titles. And I think Nintendo's going to have a really big show in the way of the type of titles that are going to be coming to its platform. And Fortnite's going to lead the way, and that could be huge. Fortnite on Switch could be huge. So that's going to do it for me this week. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my kind of pre-E3 predictions, going off of rumors and leaks and stuff like that, going down the show schedule, what we could see potentially at those press conferences. We will be present during the E3 event. We'll be doing a show next week to kind of cover. We're not going to be doing a show every single day during E3. We're going to be at the press conference for EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Square, Sony, and then we'll watch the Nintendo Direct. And then after all that, after we've kind of been able to gather all the information that we've been getting over those past 4 days, we'll come together and we'll do a post-E3 show. And I'll kind of discuss what rumors I had touched on today that came true, surprises that I didn't see coming, if there are any now, and just overall what the show was like. What some of the games look like, gameplay-wise, stuff like that. So I'll have a post-E3 show next week. So this is our pre-E3 show this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like what you heard, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the show. We are on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play stores. You can follow us on our website at www.GameNightLounge.wordpress.com. We are also on Facebook at The Game Night Lounge. We are on Twitter at The Game Night Lounge. You can follow me personally on Twitter at KODXFactor. We are also on YouTube, so go to the channel, The Game Night Lounge. And all of our videos, our Let's Play videos, our reviews, our show that we do here also goes to YouTube as well, so you can actually watch it on YouTube if you like. But however you listen to us, just make sure you give us a comment, like, and subscribe. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. My name is KODX Factor. This is The Jump Off. And until next week and post E3, everybody, game on.